Namaste, Dhanavat Pranam. All glories to Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shuddhadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 11. Harer guna kshipta matir Bhagavan Bhadarayani Adhyagan Mahad Akyanam Nityam Vishnu Jana Priya. Srila Shukadev Goswami, son of Srila Vyasadeva, was not only transcendently powerful, he was also very dear to the devotees of the Lord. Thus he underwent the study of this great narration, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Purport. According to Brahma Vaivarta Purāna, Srila Shukadev Goswami was a liberated soul even within the womb of his mother. Srila Vyasadeva knew that the child after his birth would not stay at home. Therefore he, Vyasadeva, impressed upon him the synopsis of Bhagavatam, so that the child could be made attached to the transcendental activities of the Lord. After his birth, the child was still more educated in the subject of Bhagavatam by recitation of the actual poems. The idea is that generally the liberated souls are attached to the feature of impersonal Brahman, with a monistic view of becoming one with the Supreme Whole. But by the association of pure devotees like Vyasadeva, even the liberated soul becomes attracted to the transcendental qualities of the Lord. By the mercy of Sri Narada, Srila Vyasadeva was able to narrate the great epic of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and by the mercy of Vyasadeva, Srila Shukadev Goswami was able to grasp the import. The transcendental qualities of the Lord are so attractive that Srila Shukadev Goswami became detached from being completely absorbed in impersonal Brahman and positively took up the personal activity of the Lord. Practically, he was thrown from the impersonal conception of the Absolute, thinking within himself that he had simply wasted so much time in devoting himself to the impersonal feature of the Supreme. Or in other words, he realized more transcendental bliss with the personal feature than the impersonal. And from that time, not only did he himself become very dear to the Vishnu Janas, or the devotees of the Lord, but also the Vishnu Janas became very dear to him. The devotees of the Lord who do not wish to kill the individuality of the living entities and who desire to become personal servitors of the Lord do not very much like the impersonalists, and similarly the impersonalists who desire to become one with the Supreme are unable to evaluate the devotees of the Lord. Thus, from time immemorial, these two transcendental pilgrims have sometimes been competitors. In other words, each of them likes to keep separate from the other because of the ultimate personal and impersonal realizations. Therefore, it appears that Srila Shukadev Goswami also had no liking for the devotees. But since he himself became a saturated devotee, he desired always the transcendental association of the Vishnu Janas, and the Vishnu Janas also liked his association, since he became a personal Bhagavata. Thus, both the son and the father were completely cognizant of transcendental knowledge in Brahman. And afterwards, both of them became absorbed in the personal features of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord. The question as to how Shukadev Goswami was attracted by the narration of the Bhagavatam is thus completely answered by this shloka. Text 12. Parikshito tarajarser janma karma vilapanam samstam cha pandu putranam vakshe Krishna katodayam. Sutta Goswami thus addressed the rishis headed by Sanaka. Now I shall begin the transcendental narration of the Lord Sri Krishna and topics of the birth, activities, and deliverance of King Parikshit, the sage amongst kings, as well as topics of the renunciation of the worldly order by the sons of Pandu. Purport. Lord Krishna is so kind to the fallen souls that he personally incarnates himself amongst the different kinds of living entities and takes part with them in daily activities. Any historical fact, old or new, which has a connection with the activities of the Lord, is to be understood as a transcendental narration of the Lord. Without Krishna, all the supplementary literatures like the Purāna and Bhagavata are simply stories or historical facts. But with Krishna, they become transcendental, and when we hear them, we at once become transcendentally related with the Lord. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is also a Purāna, but the special significance of this Purāna is that the activities of the Lord are central and not just supplementary historical facts. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is thus recommended by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the spotless Purāna. There is a class of less intelligent devotees of the Bhagavad Purāna who desire to relish at once the activities of the Lord narrated in the 10th canto, without first understanding the primary cantos. They are under the false impression that the other cantos are not concerned with Krishna, and thus more foolishly than intelligently they take to the reading of the 10th canto. These readers are specifically told herein that the other cantos of the Bhagavatam are as important as the 10th canto. No one should try to go into the matters of the 10th canto without having thoroughly understood the purport of the other 9 cantos. Krishna and his pure devotees, like the Pandavas, are on the same plane. Krishna is not without his devotees of all the rasas, and the pure devotees, like the Pandavas, are not without Krishna. The devotees and the Lord are interlinked, and they cannot be separated. Therefore, talks about them are all Krishna Katha, or topics of the Lord. Text 13 through 14. Yadhamridhe kuravas shrujanyam virishato viragatim gateshu Drakodara vidha gadam bimarsha Bhagnorudande drutar astra putre Bartu priyam druntir iti smapasyan Krishna sutanam svapatam shiramsi Upaharad vipriyam evatasya Jugoshitam karma vigarhayanti. When the respective warriors of both camps, namely the Kauravas and the Pandavas, were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the dead warriors obtained their deserved destinations, and when the son of Dhritarashtra fell down lamenting, his spine broken, being beaten by the club of Bhimasen, the son of Dronacharya, Aswatthama, beheaded the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi, and delivered the heads as a prize to his master, foolishly thinking that he would be pleased. Duryodhana, however, disapproved of the heinous act, and he was not pleased in the least. Purport. Transcendental topics of the activities of Lord Sri Krishna in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam begin from the end of the battle of Kurukshetra, where the Lord himself spoke about himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, both the Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are transcendental topics of Lord Krishna. The Gita is Krishna Katha, or topics of Krishna, because it is spoken by the Lord, and Bhagavatam is also Krishna Katha, because it is spoken about the Lord. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted everyone to be informed of both Krishna Kathas by his order. Lord Krishna Chaitanya is Krishna himself in the garb of a devotee of Krishna, and therefore the versions of both Lord Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are identical. Lord Chaitanya desired that all who are born in India seriously understand such Krishna Kathas, and then, after full realization, preach the transcendental message to everyone in all parts of the world. That will bring about the desired peace and prosperity of the stricken world. 15. Mata sishunam nidhanam stunanam nishamya ghoram paritapyamana tadharudad vaspa kala kulaksi tam santavayannaha kirit mali. Draupadi, the mother of the 5 children of the Pandavas, after hearing of the massacre of her sons, began to cry in distress, with eyes full of tears. Trying to pacify her in her great loss, Arjuna spoke to her thus. 16. Tada suchaste pramarjami bhadre yad brahma bandho shura atyanina gandhiva muktar vaishakar upare tvakramya yatsnasyasi dhagda putra. O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading him with the arrows of my Gandhiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then, after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath standing on his head. Purport. An enemy who sets fire to the house administers poison, attacks all of a sudden with deadly weapons, plunders wealth, or usurps agricultural fields, or entices one's wife, is called an aggressor. Such an aggressor, though he be a Brahmana or so-called son of a Brahmana, has to be punished in all circumstances. When Arjuna promised to behead the aggressor named Asvatthama, he knew well that Asvatthama was the son of a Brahmana, but because the so-called Brahmana acted like a butcher, he was taken as such, and there is no question of sin in killing such a Brahman's son who proved to be a villain. Text 17. Iti priyam valgu vichitra jalpai sasantvayita vachuta mitrasuta anvadravadam sita ugradanva kapidvajo guru putram ratena. Arjuna, who is guided by the infallible Lord as friend and driver, thus satisfied the dear lady by such statements. Then he dressed in armor and armed himself with furious weapons, and getting into his chariot, he set out to follow Asvatthama, the son of his martial teacher. 18. Tam apatantam savilaksha durat kumara hodvigna manaratena paradravat prana paripshur urvyam yabadgamam rudra bayajataka. Asvatthama, the murderer of the princes, seeing from a great distance Arjuna coming at him with great speed, fled in his chariot, panic-stricken, just to save his life, as Brahma fled in fear of Shiva. Purport. According to reading matter, either ka or arka are 2 different references in the Puranas. Ka means Brahma, who once became a lord by his daughter and began to follow her, which infuriated Shiva, who attacked Brahma with his trident. Brahmaji fled in fear of his life. As far as Arka is concerned, there is a reference in the Vamana Purāna. There was a demon by the name Vidyunmali, who was gifted with a glowing golden airplane which traveled to the back of the sun, and night disappeared because of the glowing effulgence of this plane. Thus the sun god became angry, and with his virulent rays he melted the plane. This enraged Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva then attacked the sun god, who fled away and at last fell down at Kasi in Varanasi, and the place became famous as Lolarka. Text 19. Yadasaranam atmanam aikshata shanta bhajinam astram brahma shiromene atmatranam dvijatmaje. When the son of the Brahmana, Asvatthama, saw that his horses were tired, he considered that there was no alternative for protection outside of his using the ultimate weapon, the Brahmastra, the nuclear weapon. Purport. In the ultimate issue only, when there is no alternative, the nuclear weapon called the Brahmastra is applied. The word Dvijatmaja is significant here because Asvatthama, although the son of Droṇacharya, was not exactly a qualified Brahmin. The most intelligent man is called a Brahmin, and it is not hereditary title. Asvatthama was also formerly called the Brahma Bandhu, or the friend of the Brahma. Being a friend of a Brahma does not mean that one is a Brahmana by qualification. A friend or son of a Brahmana, when fully qualified, can be called a Brahmana, and not otherwise. Since Asvatthama's decision is immature, he is purposely called herein the son of a Brahmana. Text 20. Atopasprisya salilam sandhadhe tat samahita ajhanan api samharam pranakritra upastite. Since his life was in danger, he touched water in sanctity and concentrated upon the chanting of the hymns for throwing nuclear weapons, although he did not know how to withdraw such weapons. Purport. The subtle forms of material activities are finer than gross methods of material manipulation. Such subtle forms of material activities are effected through purification of sound. The same method is adopted here by chanting hymns to act as nuclear weapons. Thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue with text 21 on Friday. All glories to Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nimalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to our Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees Ki Jai. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Niskam Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Vigyan Muni Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Ekachakra Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Nishingapali Dham Ki Jai. Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. All glories to Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai. Nitai Gora Hari Hari Hare Krishna.